channel where we discuss all things aviation. Today we're dealing with the aviation medical, without which you cannot resume your flight training. This is what an aviation medical from South African Civil Aviation Authority looks like. Yep, it looks like that. We fold it like this so that it can fit in the little pocket books that they give us in the SACAA to contain our licenses. Otherwise, it's a very big A4 paper like this that gets issued by the DAME after he has examined you and certified you fit to resume flying. I'll limit this discussion to simply the Class 1 and Class 2 aviation medical certificate, because the Class 2 medical certificate is probably going to be needed when you start your aviation training as you seek to get your student pilot license, the SPL. I've discussed this in this video here. I've moved and lived in different cities, different parts of my life, and I know the hustle of looking for an aviation medical examiner in any new city where you don't know anything about that city. Now, 2 quick tips on how to go around doing that. Number 1 is the website of the Civil Aviation Authority, www.caa.co.za. Now, in that particular website, you will find a list of designated aviation medical examiners that the CAA has put together with their contact details, so that you don't waste time phoning around trying to find out if a particular doctor is also listed as a designated aviation medical examiner. Because remember, not every doctor can actually perform this. Not every medical practitioner can actually issue you with the aviation medical. It has to be a particular doctor classified as a DAME, designated aviation medical examiner. So the website of the CAA will give you direction on who in your city are the authorized doctors to actually carry out this examination and issue you with a valid aviation medical. But secondly, you also need to talk to other aviators in the field, see where they've done their aviation medicals and how that experience was for them, because no matter how prominent an aviation medical examiner is, but if perhaps, let's say, they don't have people skills, let's say it's someone who really sucks at social relations, you will not enjoy that experience. I mean, it's invasive as it is. Perhaps I'm talking from a male perspective. Those things are found very, very invasive to me, and they encroach into my space. So I need to go to an aviation medical examiner whose atmosphere and persona makes me feel comfortable as I undertake that particular procedure. But that having been said, there's nothing to be scared of when you do your aviation medical. That's just me freaking out because hospitals do that to me. But there is really, really nothing that should make you freak out when you do your aviation medical. But yeah, 2 things. Talk to other aviators, see where they've done theirs, and see what experience they got from actually operating or working with that particular designated aviation medical examiner. Number 2, check the website of the CAA. They have a list of authorized doctors there who can actually perform the required examination on you. The various classes of the aviation medicals have different validity periods, influenced by age and medical conditions of each individual. But generally, the Class 2 medical will be valid for 24 months, whilst you are under the age of 40. Over the age of 40 to be valid for 12 months. Whereas the Class 1 medical will be valid for 12 months generally. Other conditions may come into play which then influence how each license fares in terms of its validity. But those are little nitty-gritties that are not really necessary at this point. So what is that they test? Number 1, it's your vision. There they will basically test your, whether your eyes can handle perception, depth, can they handle distance, can they handle colors? Are you colorblind, or can you differentiate between colors? Can you see in light conditions? Can you see in dark conditions? Basically, whether your vision is one of someone who can actually operate an aircraft safely. Now, they're trying to see if your eyes can move in a particular direction, and if they go over that mark or are able to compensate and correct in good time. That is why I am required by law to have these, because my aviation medical already indicated that I need corrective lenses before I can actually fly. Now, that is endorsed in my license, that I can only fly if I wear corrective lenses. I've had this question posed to me by non-aviators a number of times. People often say, so I hear that if you wear glasses you can't fly because you can't see. People forget that glasses do not mean you can't see. glasses are for correction. Your vision has been corrected by these glasses. So because it is endorsed in my license, I have to fly with them. If I land and the CAA inspector approaches me and asks for my glasses, I should be able to say, these are my glasses. These are the corrective lenses I'm wearing as per the endorsement on my license. Not only that, I'm supposed to have a spare set of glasses. I often make them out to be like this. They are prescription sunshades. They help me see better in light conditions. When it gets too bright or too light, I change and I wear these ones. So each time I'm inspected, I'm supposed to produce my corrective lens glasses as well as the spare set of glasses, which I must always have with me each time I fly. So they always sit there when I fly while I wear the normal glasses. But if it gets too bright, I exchange them for these ones. So that's what they do. They test for. That's what they test for. So the other thing is I have a third set of glasses just for control, because these ones are also treated for glare. So if the environment is somehow glary, they reduce that and help me see even much better. But they're useless inside the cockpit, because if you are flying an aircraft with a glass cockpit with screens from which you read your aircraft data, these so because of the glare, the anti-glare that was put into these glasses, you really can't see unless you tilt your head at an angle like that. Then there's no alignment between the lines, and then you can see. But inside the cockpit, these are pretty much useless. So I rely on these ones because they don't have anti-glare, and my normal glasses. So that's what they test for. Now, often this is just a walk-over test. They test for this. Can you see? Can it be corrected? Is your prescription still okay? And that's it. You go home. But sometimes this may require a second opinion. It happened to me once, and it's a very traumatic experience. I went for my aviation medical, and the medical examiner who was examining me was not happy with my eye movements. In his words, he said that they move to follow an object, but when the object stops, they proceed without stopping. And of course, I'm not a medical expert, but I disagreed with him on that, because I believed fully that my eyes were correcting and compensating in good time, and they were able to correct. I said to him, you cannot refuse to issue me with an aviation medical simply based on that, because 2 weeks ago I did an eye test with a specialist who examined my eyes and issued me with a new prescription. Rather, I go back to that practitioner and I ask for their report so that you can see their report. So I went to the expert, the eye expert, and she understood my position. She said, listen, I tested you 2 weeks ago. Here's the report. I'm going to email it to the DAME, but also I'm going to test you again, just for control. So she tested me again, and she was surprised, because what the designated aviation medical examiner was saying, she couldn't find it. As an expert in the field, she looked at my eyes and she said, but your eyes are fine. Your eyes are compensating in good time like all normal eyes do. So I'm going to send that DME my previous report of 2 weeks ago and my current report that I tested today to show that your eyes are working fine with these corrective lenses. So that's how I managed to then get my aviation medical working. Needless to say, I never went back to that DME again, and I never recommended him to anyone. In fact, I discouraged my friends from ever going to him, because the vibes that I picked up during that debate around him refusing to issue the medical certificate for me, and me saying, but my eyes are fine and they've been tested by an eye specialist and they confirm. So only after the eye specialist, the second report, 2 reports were sent in, did this guy actually issue the DME. That's why I was saying in the beginning, ask around, talk to other aviators, see what their experiences have been with particular aviation medical examiners. So the examination will also include certain details about your body, your age, your height, your weight, your drinking habits, your smoking habits. How often do you do this? How often do you do that? How much exposure do you have to a particular thing? All that will be taken into account by the examiner as they examine you, in order to decide whether to not to issue your license. Your history of ailments. Have you ever had this type of disease? Has anyone in your family ever had this type of disease? All that must be answered truthfully as you undergo your examination. They will also do a P-test. Okay, that's an informal word, but a urinal analysis, to see what is contained. You have to pee into a little cup, and that will be then examined to see what's inside your urine, and to determine if there's any need to worry, in terms of your health and your ability to pilot an aircraft. Of course, they will also look out for critical ailments such as diabetes, which is a quite disqualifying disease, to see if you don't necessarily have those in your bloodstream, and to see if you don't actually take drugs as well. They'll be checking for stuff like that. Apart from vision and the history of your body and the composition of your body, they'll also be testing your hearing. Can you hear? Can you hear soft tones? Can you hear high-pitched tones? You will be moved into a small booth that will be soundproofed, and you'll put on your specific headphones for that, and the examiner will be pressing particular buttons that will give off a particular tone, and you must indicate if you hear that particular tone. So he or she then gets to assess whether your ears can pick up high tones or low tones, and if that is going to be a problem in the cockpit, because you use your ears. You need to hear when ATC speaks on the radio. You need to hear if the engine is spluttering or running rough and in an unusual way. You need to be, audibly aware of your environment. So certain things must not escape you simply because you are deaf inside the aircraft, and thereby become a danger to aviation and a danger to yourself. As they examine your ears, they want to ensure that there are not diseases in there that could perhaps cause vertigo, that could cause an equilibrium imbalance, and that perhaps could cause speech disruption and stuff like that, because that dissonance would make you not fit for the cockpit. Turning to the physical test, there they will test your heart actually. They will hook you up to a machine that measures your heart rate, your heartbeat, and what is called an electrocardiogram, ECG. They will test your heart and see if your heart is functioning well. They will also check your BP. They'll check your pulse. Is your pulse normal? Then you will be asked to do the lung function test. This is where you need, first of all, to get those x-rays. As I'll allude to that just now, to get your chest x-rayed and then take it to the aviation medical examiner. Alright, so these are the x-rays we're talking about, what you need to take to your aviation medical. Because, yeah, you get these from any hospital that has an x-ray facility, and you then take these to medical examiner, who will read these two plates and interpret them and see how your lungs stand, how the air sacs stand in there, how the cavities stand, how the pipes stand, and if there's any cause for worry. This is what you would use in the beginning to have a look at how the condition of your lungs is at that particular moment, and then he will already have an idea while doing the lung function test, where you go through a barrage of blowing and inhaling and exhaling tests. This, coupled with that test, will actually assist the aviation medical to know the condition of your lungs and whether you would actually be suitable as a pilot to operate an aircraft with whatever condition your lungs present. Apart from the chest x-rays and the analysis of that, you'll also be asked to do a lung function test involving lots of blowing out, inhaling, holding it in, where they test your lungs for functionality in that regard. Because remember, you will be operating the aircraft at different altitudes. This could be a pressurized aircraft, could also be a non-pressurized aircraft. And we know that as you go up in altitude, the partial pressure of oxygen reduces, and that would affect how you breathe and how you function, how your brain receives oxygen from its surroundings at that particular level. So your lungs have to be tested for their ability to function under different conditions. You'll be moved into a controlled booth where the environment inside the booth is controlled, where the intake of oxygen is controlled. Momentarily, the oxygen may actually be stopped just momentarily as you breathe in, to see how your lungs respond to that. It's nothing to be scared of, really. It's just a medical procedure that you just blow in, blow out. It's more like a game, really. But it's very taxing on the lungs, because your lungs, they're actually trying to ascertain the functionality of your lungs, the ability of your lungs to do all the exercises that you're asked to do. And it can be weary, it can be tiresome. But other than that, it's not really painful, it's not really scary. It's just a walk over. You just blow in, blow out, hold it. But it shows you, just what the possibilities are up there. If let's say you're a smoker whose lungs are already functioning at half their usual strength. It's things like those that they look for when they ask you to do that blowing, holding in, blowing, breathing in, breathing out, holding your breath, and so forth and so forth. So should you need to do that aviation medical, do not forget, I said, talk to other aviators, see where they've done theirs, and most importantly, find out what their experience was in dealing with that particular aviation medical examiner. Secondly, look towards the website of the CAA, the South African CAA. They have a list of designated aviation medical examiners there, so you don't waste time and money searching around for an aviation medical. The other thing that I picked up with using aviation medical examiners, especially around Johannesburg, is that it seems like none of them want to use your medical aid. They want you to pay up front, they want you to pay cash, and then you can then go and claim that back from your medical aid scheme, which I hate so much because it's a waste of time. I've already paid for the medical aid scheme. Just claim for the medical aid scheme and give me my license, but I'm not an aviation medical examiner. That's how they choose to do their business. But do watch out for that as you look around for an aviation medical examiner, you need to have cash on hand, because they do not accept medical aid payments. So I hope you enjoyed this short video, and if you did, please click the like button and do not forget to subscribe. Remember, with every hour the cockpit beckons. Until next time, cheers.